There is one place in Skyrim where you can walk through a magical field, step onto a floating bridge suspended above the sea, and be told by a ghostly voice that you're probably not qualified to be here. And somehow, that's the most normal part of the College of Winterhold. Because once you get inside, once you've passed the tests, dodged the Thalmor, and ignored the completely unexplained explosion noises in the background, you begin to realise something. This isn't just the only school of magic in Skyrim, it's the only school of anything. And that raises a question, not about the college itself, but about the rest of the world around it. How does anyone in Skyrim learn anything? Where are all the other schools? Who teaches the blacksmiths or the farmers or even the Jarl stewards how to count? Why is there only one place to learn? And why is it this place? The College of Winterhold sits on a cliff, surrounded by snow, wind, and what can only be described as a death drop to the ocean. It is, by all definitions, isolated. There is no road to it, there are no other buildings near it. The closest town, Winterhold, is one of the most miserable, depopulated and broken places in Skyrim. And this is where the country's only centre of magical education lives. When you think of a college, you probably picture something like Oxford, or Hogwarts, or at the very least, a place that has more than 6 people in it. But the College of Winterhold is small, really small. At any given time, there are 5 students, 1 teacher who goes missing during your first week, 1 guy who runs the library and actively hates you, a talking orb no one understands, and Tolfeder, who is both the best and worst professor in the entire province. This is not a university, it's a group project gone wrong, and yet, it's all anyone has. Here's where things get weird. Skyrim is full of people who clearly learn skills somewhere. Blacksmiths build legendary weapons, court wizards cast advanced spells, stewards run the finances of entire cities. Even the farmers know how to plant, grow and harvest crops in frozen tundra. So where did they learn? Because it wasn't the college. The college is very clear, it only trains people in magic. Restoration, destruction, alteration, great. But if you want to learn economics, tough luck. Want to study history or literature or basic math, you're out of luck. There is no university in Solitude, no math academy in Whiterun, no merchants guild that offers night classes. There are no schools for warriors, no trade schools for miners, no cooking programs for innkeepers. These people just happen to know things. Either Skyrim is hiding an entire educational system underground, or everyone here is just born knowing how to do taxes. Let's talk about the library. Inside the college is the Arcaneum, the largest collection of books in Skyrim. Some of them are incredibly rare, some are dangerous, and one literally causes madness. And all of them are guarded by a man who has the energy of a bouncer at a particularly angry nightclub. Urag doesn't let anyone take books out. You can't borrow them, you're barely allowed to read them. This means that even the one place in Skyrim that has knowledge kind of doesn't really want to share it. You have to ask permission to access the good stuff, you have to do quests to be trusted with even basic tomes. In other words, if you're a student here and you want to learn something, you'd better be willing to raid a tomb first. That's not a class schedule, that's a threat. The 5 students you meet at the college are, let's say, quirky. Brelena wants to turn people into animals and does so without warning. Onmund is nice but clearly traumatized. Jazago might be the most dangerous person in the whole country and doesn't know it. They sleep in shared quarters, they never go to class, there's no dining hall, no common room. Just one room with beds, one room with fire, and an occasional field trip that ends in either explosions or ancient curses. This isn't a school, it's a startup. And it shows, because no one graduates, no one talks about finishing their studies, there's no mention of a degree or certification or even what happens after you're done. You show up, you survive, and that's the curriculum. Let's take a moment to talk about the layout of the college. It's not really welcoming. The bridge is thin and crumbling, the Hall of the Elements is a circle surrounded by nothing, the hallways are dark, twisting, and seemingly built with the intention of making students feel like they're in a very polite prison. And if you fall off the side, you're dead. This is the only place in Skyrim that teaches mages, and they built it like a platforming challenge in a game with no jump button. Which makes sense when you realise that most of the architecture was magically constructed, which also might explain why it's falling apart. Even the dorms feel weird, however. They're more like barracks than student housing. There's no art, no personality, nothing to suggest that anyone has been living here for more than a week. The only person with a fully decorated room is Ancano, who isn't even a student, he's a political spy. The College of Winterhold isn't just mysterious, it's controversial as well. If you talk to the citizens of Winterhold, the town below the college, you'll notice something. They hate the college. They blame it for the Great Collapse, a magical disaster that destroyed most of the city and sent large chunks of the land into the sea. The college, conveniently, was untouched. This is never explained, not by the college, not by the town, and not by the game. But what it does mean is that the only centre of learning in the province is despised by its neighbours. There are no partnerships with the town, no economic trade, no shared events. There's a literal food shortage in Winterhold, and the college is floating above them with a banquet hall full of untouched apples. This isn't just a college that feels separate from the world, it literally is. If you want to learn something in Skyrim, magic, combat, alchemy, you don't enroll in a class, you just find someone and pay them. That's it. That's the system. You want to be a better pickpocket? Find a thief. Want to learn archery? Go find Angie living alone in the mountains. Want to master the sword? Either join the companions or pay the local drunk a few coins to show you the ropes. Skyrim doesn't have schools, it has mentors. And while that sounds poetic, it also means the only way to get an education is to wander into danger, hoping someone likes you and be rich enough to afford their hourly rate. Is this really just a fantasy version of LinkedIn? No one at the college actually teaches you magic. You get a few lessons early on, someone shows you how to cast a ward, someone shows you how to cast fear. But that's it. The rest of the time you're learning by looting. Want to level up alteration? Spam candlelight. Want new spells? Go buy scrolls from the library. Want to master destruction? Go into a ruin and set things on fire until the game tells you you're good at it. The college doesn't teach. It gives you a room and hopes you figure it out. There are no lectures, no reading assignments, no exams. Which means this isn't really a college. It's a clubhouse for people who already know what they're doing. And if you don't, well, good luck. But maybe we're not asking the right questions. Maybe the college isn't a school in the traditional sense. Maybe it's a relic, a leftover piece of the past, a time where magic was more common, more accepted before collapse, before the fear and before Thalmor. Maybe that's why it's falling apart, why no one graduates, why the only thing they seem to care about is preserving what little magic they have left. Because no one else is doing it. The College of Winterhold isn't a school for the future. It's a museum for the past. A place where old mages gather to remember how the world used to work, and hope that maybe someone else still wants to learn. So does the College of Winterhold actually make any sense? No, not really. It's too small, too isolated, too dysfunctional. It teaches almost nothing, and what it does teach, it teaches rather poorly. It's hated by its neighbours, ignored by the province, and designed like someone let a necromancer build a cathedral using ice and vibes. But maybe that's the point. Skyrim is a world built on ruins, old ways, and forgotten paths. The college doesn't exist because it works. It could exist because it's all that's left. It's not a school because it's useful. It's a school because people need it to be one. Because if the college didn't exist, then there would really be nowhere to learn. No one to teach, no place to pass up the magic that made this world possible. It makes no sense, and maybe that's the most magical thing about it.